Hello guys, welcome back to my another After Effects tutorial. In this tutorial, we are going to see how to make simple shine particle logo reveal animation, so let's have a look. Here I have already imported the Marvel logo. So now let's start creating it. Create a new composition. Name it as the logo. Set time duration to 10 seconds. In this composition, we are going to add only our logo. So let's do it. Scale your logo if needed. Now we need to create another composition. Name it as the mask. Now let's create a new solid. Change color to white. Now we need to draw mask over the solid layer. Draw mask as shown. Keep a little distance within the masks. Draw till it covers the whole screen. Now let's rotate the solid layer. Press R to bring up the rotation. Change the rotation angle to 3 degrees. Now create a new solid. Change color to black. Now draw mask over the solid layer as shown. Now go to mask 1, unlink the mask feather. Change the mask feather value for y-axis to 500. You can adjust the position according to your requirement. Now we need to create another composition. Let's do it. Name it as shine. Now let's add the mask composition to the timeline. Now add the logo composition. Now for mask composition, change the track matte to alpha matte logo. Now change the mode to add. In effects and presets, search for fast blur. Add it to the mask composition. Change the blurriness value to 40. Now press P to bring up the position. Create a keyframe for position. Now let's change the position of the mask composition. Now go to the end of the timeline. Again change the position of the mask composition from left to right. Let's preview it. Again add the logo composition to the timeline, position it below the mask composition. If you want, you can adjust the mask composition opacity. Adjust it to near about 70%. Now let's see the preview. Perfect. Now let's create our final composition. Name it as animation. Now let's create a new solid. Name it as background. In effects and presets, search for the ramp. Add it to the solid background layer. Now change the start and end color as shown. Change ramp scatter value to 35. Now let's add our shine composition to the timeline. Now in Effects and Presets, search for the CC Ball action. Add it to the shine composition. Make sure you are at the start of the timeline. Now create a keyframe for scatter. Change the scatter value to 54. Now go to 2 seconds and 15 frames. Change the scatter value to 0. Now come back to 1 second and 25 frames. Change the scatter value to 6.5. Now change the grid spacing value to 1. Now come back to the start of the timeline. Create a keyframe for ball size. Change the ball size value to 35. Now go at 1 second and 15 frames. Change the ball size value to 100. Now come back to the start of the timeline. Create a keyframe for instability state. Change the instability state value to 1 rotation and 60 degree. Now go at 1 second and 25 frames. Change the instability state value to 0 rotation and 50 degree. Now go at 2 second and 15 frames. Change the instability state value to 0 degree. Now press T to bring up the opacity. Create a keyframe for opacity. Now go to 3 seconds. Change opacity value to 0. Now let's see the preview. Perfect. Now create another duplicate of shine composition. Now again add a shine composition. Now select the ellipse tool. Now press Shift plus Ctrl to draw a perfect circle from the center. Draw mask as shown. Now go to Mask 1. Change mask feather value to 30. Now go at 2 seconds and 2 frames. Create a keyframe for mask expansion. Change expansion value to -64. Now go to 4 seconds and 2 frames. Change mask expansion value to 1000. Now come back to the first keyframe. Press T to bring up the opacity. Create a keyframe for opacity. Change opacity value to 0. Now go to 2 seconds and 15 frames. Change opacity value to 100. Now let's see the preview. Perfect. For shine composition, change mode to multiply. Now let's add some flare. Let's create a new solid. Name it as the lens. Now in Effects and Presets, search for lens flare. Add it to the solid layer. Let's change the flare center. Let's change the brightness to 150. Now change lens type to 105mm prime. Now search for color balance. Add it to the solid layer. Now change the saturation to 100. For lens solid layer, change mode to screen. Now create another solid layer. Name it as the lens. Search for lens flare. Add it to the solid layer. Now adjust the flare center as shown. Now come back to the start of the timeline. Create a keyframe for flare brightness. Change flare brightness value to 200. Now go at 15 frames. Change brightness value to 100. Again come back to the start of the timeline. Create a keyframe for flare center. Now go to 15 frames. Position the flare center outside the frame, as shown. Now for flare, change mode to screen. Now let's create a shadow for our logo. Let's again add the shine composition to the timeline. Place it above the background layer. Change the layer to 3D. Now in Effects and Presets, search for Fill. Add it to the composition. Change the fill color to black. Now search for Fast Blur. Add it to the solid layer. Change blurriness value to 300. Now press S to bring up scales. For Y-axis, change scale value to 50%. Now press R to bring up the rotation. For X rotation, change the value to -90. Now position it below the logo. This will be our shadow. Now come back to 25 frames. Press T to bring up the opacity. Create a keyframe for opacity. Change opacity value to 0. Go at 1 second and 25 frames. Change opacity value to 100. Now let's create a new camera layer. Now create a null object. Change it to 3D. Now for camera layer, parent it to the null object. Press R to bring up the rotation. Now come back at start of the timeline. Create a keyframe for Y rotation. Change Y rotation value to 1. Now go at 3 seconds and 15 frames. Change Y rotation value to 0. Now select the created keyframe. Change keyframe assistant to Easy Ease. Now adjust the speed graph as shown. Now go to the camera layer. Go to Transform. Come back to the start of the timeline. Create a keyframe for Z rotation. Change Z rotation value to -45. Now go at 3 seconds and 15 frames. Change Z rotation value to 0. Now select the created keyframe. Change keyframe assistant to Easy Ease. Now adjust the speed graph as shown. Now again come back at the start of the timeline. Create a keyframe for position. Now go at 3 seconds and 15 frames, create another keyframe. Come back to the first keyframe. Change the Z-axis position value to -160. Now for position, select the created keyframe. Change Keyframe Assistant to Easy Ease. Now adjust the speed graph as shown. Let's see the preview. Perfect. Here our logo animation is complete. If you like this logo animation, then don't forget to give this video a thumbs up, and if you want more similar tutorial, let me know in the comment section. Or you can contact me on any of the social media platforms. And that is for this tutorial. See you on Friday with another tutorial. Thank you.